Hi, everyone. Welcome into Primetime TV. It has been a little while, hasn't it, been?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, welcome in. I'm Barbara Marville-Kelly, and with me is my co-host, husband / best friend, life coach. I could go on and on and on, but then there wouldn't be any time left for our show. Dennis Kelly,
that?
the one and only. Oh, we are so excited about our show today. It's Heart Month, right?
Absolutely.
The Heart Love Month, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't think of love 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Am I right about that?
A little bit right.
A little bit?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot right. But anyway, we're so glad that you're with us today. We've had a very interesting day, week, month, in fact, the whole last year with just craziness like a lot of people are going through. And if you have tuned into our show in the past, you may be hearing some redundant points because we want to continually drip on you with the knowledge, the research that we've done, because we research the researchers. My husband has done, you've done the researching the researchers for a lot longer than me.
Eclectic of the eclectics.
Yeah, for like 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And then using me as a guinea pig while he was writing his book, The 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth. All the answers lie right here, getting back to basic, just basic education. And today, seeing that it is Heart Month, we want to talk to you about some of the things that we've observed over the years, some of the things that we've done in our life experience that has worked, tried and true. And we know it works, and that's why we are here to make a difference in your life or maybe somebody else's life, because it does, you know, when you can stand on your own 2 feet and you feel grounded, you're in and of the moment every moment, maybe with the exception of a few when crisis sets in or, you know, something catastrophic, or so it seems, because perception is everything. It all depends on how we handle those things, right?
Well, the key thing is understanding what you want and then getting what you want through proper motivation, so to speak.
That is a very good lead-in statement. Believe me, this is never a setup. He never knows what I'm going to throw at him. But I like the way you say that. Determining what you want.
Yeah, most people know what they want.
No.
And then when they get it, they don't want it.
Yeah.
Happiness is getting what you want and then wanting what you get.
Oh, I like that too. But the thing is determining what you want in your life experience at any age. You know, we see so many things that affect our daily living for what we want. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, people only realize that we have a certain internal power. That power can do a lot of different things. But the reason is that most people don't know they have this power.
Right.
And the power comes from focus, concentration, becoming passionate about the goals you want, and you develop an internal strength. The most important thing to realize is if it's between two different strengths, physical strength and spiritual strength, the spiritual strength always wins out.
It does.
The physical strength.
Yes.
Most people, it's all physical. Internal power or external power. There is no comparison between the internal power and the external power. There's not even a contest there. Always the internal, but most people don't know they have this.
No.
The key is,
no.
How do you tap into this?
Yeah, how do you? Master Kelly.
Well, that's a long Oriental secret.
And we're going to be sharing that with you too, because we're talking today about a very powerful word that connects to our energies. And for those of you that are energy conscious and you have elevated yourself to that area of enlightenment, so to speak, a level of consciousness that allows you to be in and of the moment. And believe me, that's not an easy thing. It doesn't happen like overnight. We've been working on this for a long time. And once you get that, you just know when you resonate with something. Now, we've talked about how we deal with daily living from the minute we get up till the minute we go to bed at night, and it took practice. From Heart Math Institute, it's an entire program that our company is certified in through my husband, and it's a way of life that once you learn it, it's a game changer for you. It's transformational, and you will never ever want to know what the right answer is once you start living a heart-empowered life. Believe me when I tell you that. I mean, I get up on my soapbox on this all the time because I truly believe in it. And the one reason why I believe in it is that there's science behind it. There's science and there's medical documentation about living heart-empowered lives. I'm going to turn this over to my husband, being that coach, that peak performance coach with HeartMath Institute, and went out in the mountains and learned all the science behind it, testing and graphs and everything that leads us back to our own body for existence and what we need to learn in order to live daily. Happy, make the right decisions, live in a frequency that we can resonate with what we want to match that matched enthusiasm to. So when you went into HeartMath Institute, you went 2 separate times, actually, didn't you?
One
yeah.
was the basic, and then there was the advanced class. I took both of them.
Right.
It was quite an interesting trip, both of them, and I tell you, and my life has changed dramatically.
And mine has too, yes.
Because it made me understand. It made me understand how to really get the most out of anything that we want, and how to get it without turmoil, without recklessness.
Right.
Because the whole seat of our internal strength, the key, the organ that actually has more to do with that internal strength is the heart. The heart has 60 more times biological power than the brain. And a lot of people don't know that. In other words, there's certain crystals in the heart that are in the brain, vice versa. And the heart is really more our seat of power. There's 60 times more bioelectricity in the heart. There's also, the heart has a 5,000 frequency level over the brain.
Wow. That's powerful.
So once the person realizes that the heart does communicate with the brain.
And there's many times where you say that there is a brain in that heart. There's a brain
There is a brain in the heart. It taps into the brain through a thing called afferent neural pathway. So from the heart to the brain, they communicate back and forth. And the heart is really the center of all of our subconscious feelings. The heart also gives us the ability to build the internal power that we talked about. It has to be a system, and the system is learning how to tap into the brain communicating with the heart, and the heart communicating with the brain. And then, of course, we have a third entity in this subject, and it's the gut, the Dantian area, as the Chinese call it. There's a brain in the gut. There's more, what's the word I want? There's more, power in the brain, I should say in the heart. There's more power than there is more of what we call through the pathway in the stomach area. And that's where the seat of our power is. And we can never underestimate that power.
And that's powerful.
That's right.
Because this whole stomach thing, the reason why this whole heart math and our way of life resonated with me was even before I met my husband. I started learning that. Have you ever had this gut feeling about something or someone, and you just don't feel right about a situation, or then there's other times where you feel really right about a situation. You go, I got this. I know I'm going to do this. This is the right thing to do. What's speaking? The heart or the brain or both?
The thing is to learn how to communicate. The brain does not have the ability to create like the heart does. And the key is to know how to use that power. In other words, being able to get the advantage by knowledge and knowing what I'm talking about now. That's the first sign, because most people don't know it, and if you don't know it, you don't have the power.
Exactly. Exactly.
The key is knowing that. And how to develop that is simply learn how to communicate with the heart. You bypass a lot of the brain by learning how to communicate to the heart. Then the heart communicates with the brain, and you get a much more positive, a much more usable system, and not making the right decision is a lot less a problem. If you go to the heart and learn how to use that, all the decisions you make turn out to be right. May not seem that way, but they do. It may be 3 moves down like a chess game.
Yes.
The right we may feel is the wrong at first. However, once we learn how to establish that, then you realize that, wait, this doesn't seem right now, but this is a path that gets me into the future to make it right. So it's like God knowing how to play chess, being unbeatable.
Exactly. Now, for me at first, it wasn't to actually learn the actual system that is part of our coach mentoring program. At first, I was trying to decide, well, is it the heart? Is it the head? Is that normal to be a little bit confused at first? Right?
Be able to determine what is the right answer. The right answer never comes from the brain.
Right.
It comes from the heart and the abdominal section. Section.
So it's that feeling.
That feeling, and practice on little small mundane things, and don't worry about the big ones, and learn how to use the heart. Once you go through that established system, then you know that every decision you make, even though it may not be viable at the moment, is going to put you in a better frame of position to be successful in the future.
Do you know what just came to me was this is the honest to goodness truth, is the first time that I really had the strongest feeling ever of resonating with my gut before I ever knew anything about H.E.A.R.T.-Math Institute. It was before, when I met my husband. Before I met you. I've never said this to you, but I honestly had that gut-wrenching feeling that this is the right person for me. Because we had a match of enthusiasm. We were both on the same page about healthy wellness, anti-aging, very grounded with faith, and it all resonated. He loved the martial arts. He was a dancer. I loved the martial arts. I like to think I was a dancer. And all these things, all these factors, I couldn't have sent God a mail order to get the husband that I have today. And within a very short amount of time, in less than 2 weeks, I knew I was going to marry this man. And that was even before H.E.A.R.T.-Math Institute. So now we have all that validation that really helps people like yourself that may want to work with us to help you. Let me go back to the beginning of the show when we started and talking about, what do you want? What do you want in your life? Maybe you don't know what you want in your life. That's where our principles come in from a very successful program, and we show you how to find that deep-seated passion, and it may actually shock you. It may not have anything to do with what you're doing today. What do you think?
I think that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
Very good.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
And as we talk about heart empowerment, we talk about giving your heart the carte blanche for making decisions for you. Once you learn that, it will come lickety-split anytime you need to make even a decision right on the spot. If you live a heart-centered, heart-empowered life, you will be able to eventually master it at the blink of an eye. And I kid you not, any of my friends out there, you know where I live is right here. From love to faith to making the right decision every time. And if I ever even think of deviating from making those heart-empowered decisions, and I go back to the head, I'm in trouble. And it may just be a minor little thing, but most of the part, I think we do go to our heart every time.
If everybody would just go back in time and remember any decision that you made, if you have a gut feeling, almost 99% of the time will come out to be right. If you don't follow that gut feeling, you're going to be wrong in most cases. And the gut feeling is just tapping into the neuron, the same neurons in the spinal column. The heart has the same amount of neurons in the heart as in the spinal column on the things we're talking about.
And that's the education that we give you when you want to delve a little bit deeper into your life. And speaking of that, you know, we've always had people ask us, how are you always so happy and jovial? And here's my husband's book, The 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth. This is the book where he used me as a little guinea pig many years ago when I joined the health club, and he really did show me the way. Absolutely showed me the way, and over time we've learned to really live this way on a regular basis. But when you stop to think, and I mentioned on Facebook today that we were going to get into going a little bit deeper, things that we've never really even shared before, and why we do these shows, why we go back and reiterate some of the points that we have made. Maybe we'll add something new, but it's just to educate as many people that would like to come on board to learn how to live from their heart. Step back for a moment, and I'm just going to give you things that will stress you out, just for the moment, because then we can go from there to the solutions. Problem, solution, right? Problem, solution. Turn on the news. Go out on US 19 down here in Florida. Listen to what's going on with politics, laws that are being made that just goes against your grain. The people that are driving anywhere. I use US 19 here in Florida because it's the busiest road ever. But now, we were just saying coming up here, it used to be at the rush hour was in the morning, rush hour at night, and then the lunch hour in between was about the only times that it was really busy and, you know, rush hour. Now, it's all day, no matter where you go, no matter what time. That is a big focus on stress. And you know as well as I, we've recently heard that stress has been dubbed the epidemic of the 21st century. That's very, very sad. Then you tune into the news or even go to neighborhood meetings and hear what's happening in your community. And I know it's happening in your community. You take a look at what's happening with children, generations, and all of the stress that parents are going through and how they can't hold it together. And what happens is our children and the generations coming up are being affected by it right now. Could be by you, could be by somebody else, but it's happening right now. And if we can just get a hold of all of that, we believe that if we could just do a little bit here and a little bit there and raise the awareness. And I'm going to toss back to my husband, but what happens when you allow for 5 minutes of an angry thought, unforgiveness, hatefulness. Maybe somebody borrowed money from you a while back and you never paid them back. Maybe you had some good reasons, but that person could be you. You're still mad at them, holding on to a grudge for a long, long time. My husband's going to share with you what happens to the body. And then we wonder what happens with stress when it turns into the form of the C word. I don't like to give it that energy. But cancer, go figure it out. You can see what happens, and if you take a look at some of your friends or your relatives, take a look at what their past history has been. And there are answers for that, and I'm not talking about just going and getting alternative ways to help yourself. I'm not talking about the chemos and all the meds that are out there in the world. Somebody might say, maybe it's big business, big pharma. I'm really letting a lot out here today, but some of these things we just haven't talked about before. And it's time, because I'm not happy with what I'm seeing out in the world today. And my family is my driving force. I have a wonderful 5-year-old grandson, little JD. He is just the light of my life. And I know you have a grandson or a child. Maybe you're expecting. And I know that you want to give your family the very best, and you can by setting an example. So I'm going to toss back over to Dennis Kelly so that you can tell us what happens to our body. Well, with all that I listed, and the list goes on. I'm just getting warmed up.
Well, the thing that most people don't realize, that we're not genetically engineered to handle this kind of stress. Back in the Paleolithic ancestor days, when the cavemen, they went out and and their life was very simple. They hunted, they proliferated, they ate, they slept. That was about it. Mm-hmm. There wasn't that many concept changes. So basically, unfortunately, our mental intelligence has exceeded our emotional intelligence over the period of the years. We're not emotionally equipped to handle it, so we have to rewire our brain and heart, so to speak.
And we can do that.
Yes, you can.
We can do that. Okay.
By, first of all, knowing that we can do it.
Yes.
If it's no can do, that means that you don't know about it.
And believing we can do it.
You're not born with a manual to tell you what to do.
I know.
You don't come out of the mother's womb with a manual to tell you how to raise that child, how to raise yourself. Most people don't know how to communicate with themselves, so how in the devil can they communicate with somebody else?
Gosh, that is such a great point, hon.
Learning to communicate with yourself by being able to go to the heart, being able to have the confidence the heart is going to communicate with the gut. The gut's going to communicate with the heart's going to communicate with the brain. It's a trilogy there. They go back and forth. And the way I want to put it is the greatest nerve, the biggest nerve in the body is the vagus nerve. Mm-hmm. Comes from the head all the way down to the abdominal area. That is like a barometer. It tells the brain what's going on. It's everything that's going on in the body, it tells the brain. Then the brain gives information back to the vagus nerve, and they go back and forth to make the adjustments. The problem is people are overstimulated with their vagus nerve. When the vagus nerve is overstimulated, it starts giving the brain misinformation. The misinformation then gets sent back to the nerve, the vagus nerve. And then what happens, it disrupts the immune system because there's a gene called a P53 gene. And that is a cancer-killing gene. The problem is that when the vagus nerve gets all wired up because of stress and gives the brain the misinformation, then unfortunately the P53 gene starts becoming a rogue gene, starts to digesting or killing our good cells, committing suicide in the brain with the cells in the hippocampus.
So it's not able to produce the gene that combats cancer?
That's right.
So basically, if I'm hearing this correctly, what's resonating with me is we must, without a doubt, know at all times how to handle our emotions.
Right.
Right? So when we're raising our little ones or we're working with people in the workforce, if we have a handle on that, I'm guessing that our body is going to respond rather than react, to go off on somebody, and you're coming from the head, you immediately are coming from the heart, which works much better for all of us.
Right. When I do a seminar, I ask the people in there, how do you communicate when you're stressed out? When you're really weak down, how do you communicate? Some people cry. Some people get angry. Mm-hmm. But there's all sorts of sorted emotion that go with that. And the key thing is learning when you are up and faced with a situation that requires some positive feedback, that you lose track of that. You go into a mode of the reptile, in other words, a pre-Neanderthal man reptile in your brain, where you react to things rather than responding to things.
Kind of like being chased by a lion.
Yeah, it's
fight or flight.
That's right. If the lion's chasing you, you either got to get away or you're going to be kill a little tiger or a lion, or you have to, like I say, realize that this is a life-threatening situation. Mm-hmm. However, you're probably better off being chased by the tiger than you would be by being late to work. Because when you're chased by the tiger, you get away from the tiger, and then there is no after effect. There's a relief system that makes you feel good. But when you're late for work or have a situation that's not lined up like we just mentioned with the tiger, then your problem goes all day long. One thing gets the other. You go home and kick the cat. You fuss at your wife because the meal wasn't on time, all because you're still vibrating at a negative rate, taking it with you at home. It could last all day because one angry thought held for 5 minutes or more lowers your IJ level for 6 to 8 hours.
6 to 8 hours. Get that, guys and gals. 5 minutes. That's all.
5 minutes of an angry thought. Proven, documented, research. What do you do about it? Well, you learn to go to the heart rather than going to the brain. That's because in the brain you got a little thing called amygdala that stores up all the information to protect you from the outside world. And the amygdala, unfortunately, sabotages us now because it's out of date. It hasn't biologically evolved in emotions equal to the brain.
How does your amygdala get out of date?
Well, what happens
is
the amygdala is trying to protect us. And things that aren't life-threatening, the amygdala gives us a negative response. Because 77% of the people are negative. It's because of, if we weren't that way when we were back in the Paleolithic ancestor days, the challenge is we had never made it to this far in the 21st century. We would have been extinct a long time ago. But because we were negative back then, pessimistic more than optimistic, they were able to survive. Now it's the opposite. To survive, you have to be optimistic, not pessimistic.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it is easier to be negative, but imagine if you had the tools and the principles that resonated with you, that made sense. Imagine what it would be like if you could wake up in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you're ready to take on each day, you hit the floor running, no matter what happened the day before, no matter what you have on your plate for that day, because of the way you are resonating with life, the way you are stirring up the right energy in your body, and you're making the right decisions just by living from the heart. I know that sounds really simple, and it is kind of simplified, and it will take practice, but we have been doing this, I mean, really we've been together for going on 21 years. I know you were doing it beforehand, and I was, just by calling it something different. And you may be able to resonate with what I'm about to say. Have you ever gone somewhere, you walk into a room, or somebody walks into a room, and you feel either a little standoffish, or you feel like they're a magnet, and they're just drawing you close to them? Explain why that is with the 12 feet of resonating with someone.
Well, they now can measure with sophisticated equipment. They can measure the heart rate vibration up to 12 feet away. In other words, the energy from the heart can be measured 12 feet away. Now, you can imagine that goes way beyond that, but we don't have sophisticated equipment enough to go past the 12. That doesn't mean that that's the distance, the only distance. It could be far greater than that. So when you walk in a room, if somebody is thinking positive, they surround that room with a nice energy. Some call it the bubble effect.
Exactly.
When you walk in a room, surround everyone with this bubble coming from the abdominal area, and it may sound silly, it may sound hard to believe, but that is not for the other people as much as it is for you, because it puts you in a right frame of mind, and you've got this feeling that you're going to be transferring to other people. So when somebody walks in a room, they're in this enlightenment, as Deepak Chopra said, the state of bliss, they project an energy that make people around feel comfortable with this person. But if you walk in with a negative effect, you're going to pick out the negative things and
draw that to you. The law of attraction.
The law of attraction.
Yes, what you think about,
the 4 laws.
You bring about.
Law of attraction, law of deliberate creation, law of allowing, and laws of atrophy.
Exactly. And that really works when you think about things like that. If you've ever gone anywhere and you know exactly what we're talking about, there's a thing behind all that. There was at HeartMath Institute, I love to hear the story about the boy and the dog. Why don't you tell that story, because you were there and I wasn't. I'll make it there one day.
Well, we have what we call a heart rate variability. In other words, where the heart is in a beautiful pattern. When you're not stressed out, when you're in a positive mood or frame of mind, then the heart, and when they put the heart on the EEG machine and EKG machine, the heart goes like a nice, beautiful pattern. When you're stressed out, the heart is like a seismograph of California's earthquake. It goes
dear.
In other words, it's an awkward energy. It's an energy that doesn't do you right. And so when you learn to control that energy, all sorts of doors open for you.
And you don't have to be beating your head against the wall like you talk about find the door in your book. Rather.
Yeah, in every wall there's a door, but most people try to beat their head through the wall, try to make a door out of the wall, rather than looking for the door or knowing there's a door. Most people know there's a door. They have to, well, there's the wall. I got to butt my head through this wall.
Yeah, and that's not necessary.
No, there's several different types of people. 27% of the population are negators. They walk around with their umbilical cord ready to zap you. 27%. And these people...
That's way too... It doesn't sound like much, but that's a lot.
Well, that is a lot when you think about it. Then there's 60% of the population are waiters. What I mean by waiters is their whole attitude is they can't wait to get off of work. They can't wait till 5 o'clock. They're waiting for somebody to give them an opportunity.
Waiting for somebody to make them happy.
Waiting for somebody to make them happy. Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big one.
I could do a whole 30, 40 minutes on that alone.
At a minimum.
Codependency in that.
Yes, yes.
So the 60% are in that mindset. They don't hardly ever achieve anything great because they're still waiting till the day they die. They're waiting for that time to come to make them successful. They want everything to be handed to them, given to them. That's what we call the waiter. And 13% of the population, they're what we call aggressives. They will beat their head through a wall. They're the ones that are type A personality. And in most cases, they'll beat their head through the wall looking for the door, rather than knowing the door is there.
Yeah, exactly.
And they usually become successful monetarily, but then they end up giving up their health to gain their wealth. They work the toil of a slave only to have to give up their wealth to gain their health, and all they get is an early grave. That's one of my favorite sayings.
And that is so true.
So the key thing is the 13%. They need to learn to slow down, need to learn to, when they get to the wall, sit there, relax, and go to the heart, and the heart will tell you how to make the door, or find the door, so to speak. Then 3% of the population are the dreamers. 3% of the top population, they're the ones that write their goals down. They're the ones that dream up all these things. They're the ones with a fantastic imagination. Einstein, on his deathbed, said the strongest force in the universe is imagination. Our imagination. That is the greatest gift that was ever given to us.
Absolutely.
And when you take knowledge, knowledge into your true chest, is knowledge your true moment of that, in other words, the word I'm looking for, the knowledge is not your intelligence, the important thing. Knowledge is not the true gift of your intelligence. Imagination is your true gift of intelligence.
Because that's what taps into your creativity.
That's right. So a person with a great imagination actually has more intelligence than a person with a high IQ in many ways. That intelligence transfers into productivity, into many wonderful things.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, people say, how do I do it with the fact that I'm recovering from Parkinson's disease? Sometimes you'll notice I'll slur my words. Sometimes I'll reach where the mind goes blank. But you know, the fact that I have all those other weapons on my side, the heart, all that knowledge, it shows that you don't have to give up on life. I still enjoy life. I'm recovering from it. I still have signs of it. But the fact is, what I'm trying to get at is when you have this mindset, you learn this system, no matter what happens to you, you can survive.
Excellent point, which is a perfect segue into the day that you said, God, why me?
Yeah, when my doctor, of course I knew that something was seriously wrong, because I lost a lot of my creativity, I lost a lot of my ability to handle certain things, and I said, God, why me? You know, I take care of myself, and I do all these things that I'm supposed to do to be healthy. Well, then I thought to myself, and I said, God, why not me? I'm a warrior. I can really use this disease to help other people, because I know that because of the things that I've learned and that I'm sharing with you, that I can survive anything.
It's true. It's true. It's like you have conditioned your team, your head and your heart.
Right.
And the heart makes the decisions, and it actually kicks in by default, because you're so used to doing it, and the heart's a muscle, so it remembers. Okay, we have this situation. Okay, I'm going to cry about it for a minute. Okay, now I know what to do. Chrysula and I had that conversation today, right?
Right.
She was saying that to me because she had just lost her dad. He was ready to go. And in fact, we shared that on Women Unscripted last time, and she's going to be here next week to have some more fun with us on primetime. But it's really true, when you discover that self-mastery, you become a machine at it. And you just automatically go to where you need to go to get the job done, to handle whatever crisis, whatever financial setback, whatever illness. You handle it differently.
That's right, absolutely. And the key thing is, the thing I like to use as a guideline in me seeking and making goals is the fact that when you send a message to God, that's through the brain. You send a message to God, that's telephoning God. When you go to your gut and you get a gut feeling, that's God giving you the answer.
And boy,
He's calling you back.
Yes, and it can come in times where you just least expect it. You can be driving along the highway and you might see a billboard, and there will be a trigger on that billboard, a word, a name, or something that is going to convey a message to you. And you know that that's happened to us for years now. That's how we came up with the different names for our different workshops and our coaching program. And that's why we want to bring it all to the public, and it's going to be rolling out very, very soon. We had a few little glitches with getting some things added to our websites, and those are being taken care of. But it's just, I'm so proud to have this to offer people, and with you coming up with Trineurogenics, which is the mind, body, spirit, using the mind as the map, the body as the vehicle, and the spirit as the fuel.
Very well put.
And there was a reason why you came up with Trineurogenics. Share that with us, because it's a coined name that you came up with many years ago.
Well, Tri is the mind, the body, and the emotions. That's the trilogy. And the neuro is the nervous system, and the genics is the composite of all that. Mm-hmm. And I like to mention this factor, too, that when I realized that I had this challenge, and I was running all these things that I was losing, that now I'm gaining back because of the fact that I'm fighting this with everything that I have. Mm-hmm. This interesting thing happened. When I was competing on a national circuit, of course I came back out of retirement 4 or 5 different times in fighting. When I was competing on a national circuit, in every state they have usually a world-class tournament with NASCA. I had won a first place in almost every state that I competed in, with the exception of the U.S. Open in Florida. Every year they have that tournament, and every year for the last 30 years I've been competing in it. And for 30 years, I could not win at that tournament. I had a nemesis. That tournament, I never won a first place. Second place, third place, fourth place. And all the other states, I was winning first places in the World Championship. So I figured I'd come back out of retirement, and just to show people with Parkinson's, you still can fight. I didn't expect to win, but I wanted to win.
I know, I understand.
But that was not my purpose. My purpose was to get in the ring for myself, too, to show myself what I need to do and get me back in training, because it's hard. When you have Parkinson's, everything is twice as hard, 3 times as hard to do. It's twice as hard to get to the gym, twice as hard to get out of bed and be positive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, I figured this would be a good barometer. And I started getting into training again. Come back out of retirement 2 years ago at 78 years of age, and entering a tournament that I've never won ever. I won a first place.
At 78, do you believe it?
At 78, I lived my dream to make that be a winning situation, to show people what can be done.
Yeah.
And when that happened, then I had more power and belief in myself. That's when I started climbing back up the hill, getting out of the dark what do you call it?
The black hole.
The black hole, crawling out of the black hole.
And that is the honest to God's truth. I said, you are in a black hole. And we just pulled you out of there using our little secrets and prayer and getting with the right people to help us do that. Because people do need people. Yes, we do. Still today, friends and family that are always there to support, and those that resonate with us and we resonate with them. It's such a great story. And in this last portion of the show, I really like it. I don't know if you've noticed that there's no breaks now. So we can just keep the flow going all the way till the top of the hour when we close the show out. I'm glad that you shared that. I don't think we've shared quite that thing with the P word for a while, but it's important because we were just saying that if you're trained in that heart empowerment, you go there eventually. Even though you may hit it, it may be like a real gut punch, you get out of it a lot quicker than sitting and ruminating about it and, oh, poor me, and having the pity me parties and things like that. I mean, you just got right in there. Said, I'm not going to take this. And I told you I wasn't going to be a caregiver either, that I'd tie you to the tree out front and give you 3 square meals a day, and I'd hose you down. That's swear. I did. I said, so straighten up and fly right. And I tried to say it with a straight face, but I don't know, something worked. And if I go to just give them a little something or whatever, I'll go, now, this is not caregiving. Just remember that. And we just have a little joke about it. You know, perception is everything. We need more laughter and more fun in the world today. Tomorrow isn't promised, guys, okay? It's just not. And we just value our relationship. We value our family, our friends, our life. We value our life. That's why we want to respect our temple that we were born with and do everything we can to help ourselves, help our friends and family to do the same. We don't have all the answers. We're still learning, even though we have that program of self-mastery, and we will guarantee it works because it works for us. We're not abnormal. Well, maybe we are a little bit crazy, just because we are.
Well, people look at me as an anomaly, but I don't. What I'm trying to say is, I don't really feel that in any way was I coming back out of retirement just to prove how good I am.
No, we do not need any more trophies in the trophy room. Trust me, we do not.
It was the fact that my whole training that has been taught, all the things in seminars and books I've read, it shows that inside of all of us is a working giant ready to come to fruition. Mm-hmm. And once you realize that, you have this power to be able to make changes. I actually believe that eventually we'll reverse this totally. I'm not saying cure. I'm saying I believe that I can, and even if I don't.
Well, don't you agree that your belief system,
yes,
it's huge. It's key to everything. We grow up with a certain belief system, whether our parents were doing the right thing or maybe not the right thing or whatever. They're our leaders. That is our belief system, you know? And then for a lot of us baby boomers later on in life, then we try to figure out who we are and what is our belief system today. It's okay. It's all good, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm being told we've got how many minutes? Oh, okay. I thought so. I thought we've got about 12 minutes or something like that before we close the show. So I'm just going to go into an area that is very, very important for us to remember, because we've been working with some people and friends and family, you could say, with just different things going on. And what we have really surmised is one of the biggest things in our program, which is Life Empowerment and Life Empowered and Life Mastery. It's an acronym: Love, Inspire, Forgive, and Enlighten. And it's number 3, forgiveness. If you want to live, I mean really live, you must learn how to forgive.
Very important point.
It truly is, because what happens if you carry all this stuff and keep stuffing it, and you don't handle it in a way, and I'm not saying go off the deep end, but treat yourself with some love, your own self-love, and believe me when I tell you, it can make a whole difference in the world, because what you're doing is you're changing the frequency in your body. When you come from love in everything you do, whether it's making the coffee in the morning, getting up with a smile on your face, and saying good morning, and hugging your sweetheart like we do, and believe me, that's not perfect, but neither one of us get up cranky in the morning. And it's kind of a choice because we're not. But everything we do, if we stop before we react and respond with a loving heart, things work out very well for us. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. We have that ability to be able to do that. You don't have to be a genius to do that.
Yeah.
The key thing is, like I mentioned, so much of the population are negative. And that was set thousands of years ago for survival purposes. Mm-hmm. Now we need to really realize that now this is the 21st century. And we're not back in the Paleolithic ancestor days. So how we handle stress is a lot different than we did then. Mm-hmm. Because now there's so many concept changes every hour.
Oh, that's true.
And the key is to resonate.
Yes.
That's the magic word.
That's
resonate at a high
magic
level.
Word, yes.
Like Anna Weiss wrote a book called The High Performance Mind. Very good book. High Performance Mind, she said in her book, she's a PhD and expert in psychology and things like that. She says, a high performance mind is one that at will can reach that state of consciousness is beneficial and desirable for any given circumstance. What she meant by that is very profound. Most people just glanced over that. But what she was saying, you can use whatever emotion you need to be a person of mastering stress. You can call upon any emotion you need to take care of the moment. Some may say, well, that's not being yourself. What is being yourself? Being yourself is doing the best you can with what you have to work with. And what is good for you, a lot of people won't agree with. They will try to determine what's good for you. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important to listen to what I mentioned about Anna Weiss's high-performance mind. What she could have wrote was a high-performance heart.
Oh, yes.
That's where I think she missed the boat.
Yes, yes.
And she didn't give you how to get the high-performance heart, how to do that in such a way that you can bring out that power, the unlimited power.
But you know, like you were saying earlier about negativity being so much easier than positivity. And that, I mean, we've all been there. We both have been there in handling the stressful moments with difficult people, and you wonder why they're in your face about this or that, and maybe their perception wasn't really what you intended, and before you know it, you end up alienating yourself from friends, family, relatives, and that may be good at a certain point, but when you allow all those things to fester inside, I mean, look up the definitions of cancer and what contributes to that horrible disease. It's the poisons, because we cannot get rid of the toxins unless we have principles and a program that actually works.
Right. Well, the brain, through a series of neuropeptic messengers, will signal the soldier cells in your body that float in the lymphatic system and the bloodstream, will show those soldier cells, tell those soldier cells to not fight.
That's right. They put down their arms.
In other words, when you're negative, you tell the soldier cells not to fight. This person doesn't like living. And that's why all disease has a strong psychosomatic component. It's because of the fact that if you are happy with life, if you love life, you tell the soldiers, fight like hell. Fight.
Yes.
Go in and help win this battle. The soldier cells do. And in most cases, you will win.
Yes.
People have reversed cancer completely.
And so what I'm getting from this, too, is we can strengthen our immune system from my favorite word, love.
The highest frequency in the universe is love.
Yes.
Everything is a frequency. Every atom, every piece of matter, everything in the world. This table, Our body has a frequency. Think of it, 1 to 10 positive frequency, 1 to 10 negative frequency. Right in between, they call it flatlining. So when we are in a frequency, what your frequency level over a period of time will really determines upon your whole life, whether it's going to be successful, it's going to be painful, or you're going to be really a person that is going to help make things better in this world. Mm-hmm. So the key thing is resonate at a frequency that's above negative.
And maintain it.
Maintain it. That's the hardest thing to do.
That's the key, is to maintain it so that when crisis happens, when stuff happens, you immediately go there and you're able to handle whatever that situation is.
To make it simplistic, there are 2 rules that I use in my life. Don't sweat the small stuff. Rule number 2, everything is small stuff.
Pretty much.
We're here today and gone tomorrow. Why allow ourselves to utilize this time that we're here on earth to be negative? Mm-hmm. So that's where we have to rewire ourselves and say, I can't control this. I will resonate at a frequency that's above flatlining. Because the problem with flatlining is if you don't have any up or down, you'll fall for anything.
Exactly.
You don't have any solid basis. So even if you resonate at a point, say 2 or number 3, like resonating at 10 would be like euphoria. You can't stay there. You must, like the Buddhism talks about, the balance, the middle of the road.
Yes.
So you don't want to try to resonate too high, constantly that use energy. Just enjoy your trip, whatever made you feel happy, and then allow yourself to smell the roses.
Mm-hmm. You have something that you do every day, and I want you to share that with everybody, how you find, when you wake up in the morning, you find what it is that keeps you going in a positive way.
Yeah, when I wake up in the morning, I say to myself, what exciting challenges am I going to face today? Rather, what problems do I have? Then there's a thing called segment intending. You see your day the way you want it to go. The way you drive safely to work, the way you walk into your office, or whatever you're doing at the time. Segment intending, you plan that chart in your mind. Then throughout the day, you keep asking yourself, how do I feel? The biggest challenge is positive thinking is put more people in a mental institution than any other thinking.
Isn't that
positive thinking. No, it's positive feeling. Because you can't think every minute, every hour how you're thinking, because you'll be thinking how you're thinking.
You drive yourself crazy.
Else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what you ask yourself periodically, like every hour, how do I feel? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And at first you have to do that. Then eventually you don't even have to ask yourself.
It comes so naturally.
It's because every cell has receptors. And the cells, if you are a negative person, will look for everything negative because the cells want that information. Mm-hmm. So if you go and resonate at the positive area, then the cells build receptors. The receptors change from negative to attracting positive things. That's why when you vibrate at a frequency that's high above the 1 to 10, all right, then what happens if you vibrate at that frequency, you attract other people to that frequency, other situations at that frequency.
Yes.
Dennis Waitley, in his book, one of his books that he wrote that I read several times over, is that he said when we get excited about a goal and get passionate, 18 to 20 billion brain cells start vibrating at an abnormal rate. And they vibrate at with one purpose, to achieve that goal. So then that goal starts vibrating out here in Walla Walla land, starts vibrating at that frequency that you were setting when you're making the goal. Then thought is a thing. Thoughts are things. 3 words that are very important. Then all of a sudden everything in the universe starts drawing that power to you.
And that's happened with us time and time again.
Like somebody said to me, well, don't you feel a little bit embarrassed when you're doing public speaking and you start slurring your words or run into a freeze frame where you freeze right at the moment, can't think? The point of it is that helps you in a sense, because what you're doing then is you're making people realize you don't have to be perfect to be happy.
There's no such thing as perfection.
That's right. It's only a direction. It can never be a goal.
That's right.
Very well put.
Yeah, I got a good coach.
How about that? She teaches me too, so don't anybody think that she's learning just from me. I've learned a lot from my wife.
We teach each other. I had a, you were going to say something? Go
The
ahead.
main purpose of a couple is to grow.
That's right.
Growth. What's the purpose of a couple? To grow together.
Right.
Now, I don't mean grow in height, but I'm talking about, as you know, I'm talking about growing in communicating. Learn to communicate with yourself. The point of it is, how do you communicate with yourself? Go to the heart.
Absolutely. It truly is a lifesaver. It's a game changer. It will be transformational. I can promise you that. If you just, do the program. Excuse me, I think I'm getting the allergies already. It's February. But we have just a few minutes remaining for this hour. Oh, 1 minute, so I'm going to say this really fast. Next week, I want to thank you for joining us for today, and you're going to see more and more. If you want to go to dennis-kelly.com, you can learn more. You can see some of my husband's blogs. My website is having a challenge right now, so you can't go to barbaramarville.com, but you can go to all the pages on Facebook, Barbara Ann Marville-Kelly, and you can see all of them there, from my author page to all kinds of great things, and I will be posting more there. But I also want to invite you guys to join us next week, because Chrysula Gause is going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking about some of our secrets in addition to our lifestyle that we live, a heart-empowered life. And remember, when you have heart-empowered living, you're going to have a life that's mastered. We promise that. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, come from love in everything you do. Right, sweetheart?
Absolutely. Well put, my love.
All right. We'll see you next time. Show some love, even if it's just a simple smile. Bye now.